I especially welcome you to another episode of Sitting with the Elders. And as usual, Sitting with the Elders was conceptualized to give us a platform where we can engage with our senior citizens so that we, the younger generation, can glean lessons of life and living from them. And today I am so excited because I have another wonderful elder with us today. She is what I like to call a woman of many parts. She's a music educationist, and this year marks 60 years that she has worked in the field of music education. And we're going to be talking to her about life, living, marriage, career, parenting, so many things that I'm sure that you just need to relax, get yourself ready to learn and to enjoy. Now, who am I talking about? She is Mrs. Edna Soyannwo. You're welcome, ma'am.
Thank you.
How are you today, ma?
I feel very well.
Where do we begin this? Because you are 86 years old.
I'm 86 and a half this month.
I love it, 86 and a half.
Yes.
I like the fact that you are so specific.
Yeah.
Where do we begin the story of 86 years? So your journey started January 7, 1934.
Right.
Yes. What were your earliest memories about your life, about growing up?
My earliest memories about when I was about 5, 6 years old, and we went to the home of my grandfather.
Wow, you remember that?
Yes, and my parents lived in different towns at different times because they're missionary teachers. So they were not in one station at a time. They were in different parts of the country, of the Gold Coast then. I was born in Udumase, and I grew up there up to when I went to boarding school, very early at 11. But what I remember is our visit to my grandfather's home, and the house was christened House of Peace. My father gave that name, and then within a week, he was called home to the Lord.
Wow.
But much earlier, I remember waking up in my grandfather's home. You said earliest memories, my grandfather's home, and I opened my eyes, and the atmosphere were different, and then the sounds. My earliest memories were the sounds. Which sounds? There was a huge tree, a very, very huge tree across the road from our house, my grandfather's house, and we call it the weaver bird tree. And actually, that's the title of my memoirs, The Weaver Birds. And there was something quite peculiar about these sounds. Sort of introduced me to nature, God's first things that he did. And he created and brought in birds, their music. And that was my earliest memory, my visit to my grandfather's house, and waking up my first morning at the age of about 5 or 6, I'm not sure, hearing the chattering of the birds. Like, now that I'm in music, I could say like an orchestra of wooden instruments, the highest piccolos, just chatting beautifully. So I said, what's that noise? And so my mommy said, these weaver birds, they come. And then I went and stood there by the roadside and just watched them flying in and flying out with palm fronds in their mouths, building their nets. And I never forgot that.
What amazes me is how sharp and crisp your memory is Because as we were talking, I was thinking to myself, Toyin, what's your earliest memory? But how would you say, and it's interesting that you're into music now,
Yes.
but it's like one of the first things you remember is the sounds
Yes.
that you heard. How would you say that sort of influenced the path that you have walked in life, in your music journey?
Oh, yes, I think it did. It did because as I was growing up, whilst learning to read the Bible, I found out that the birds, they had no care. They were happy all the time, and they sang all the time. They sang, and the music. There's one here in this house that go to, and when it hears me start playing the piano, it comes on the tree.
Really?
Here in this house.
A random bird outside here?
Whether it lives here or not, I don't know.
Wow.
Yes.
So let's talk about your journey into education. Did you start music from your first time going to school, or how did all of that come? What was your educational journey like?
And the educational journey started from home. Because my mother did full-time house mom.
Okay.
Yes, they looked after us. My mother and father had 11 children, but lost 4 on the way, and then 2 years ago lost 3 before, and 2 years ago lost an adult over 70.
So you are 7 children.
We are 7 now.
Where do you fall in the 11? Are you the first, the middle, the last?
I am the 4th.
Okay.
And the 2nd is now the 1st.
Okay, okay.
So I'm the 2nd now.
Yeah, the 2nd now.
Because, yes. And it's very, very, very significant. I'm the 2nd now, and the eldest of 6 girls.
Whoa.
There were no nursery schools, but the missions, they had mission homes. Basel Mission, and then after the First World War and the Second World War was starting, the Basel missionaries now left, having trained many of the Gold Coast citizens, nationals, including my father, who had this German training before they left. Of course, I was born at the beginning of the Second World War. That's a long time ago, isn't it? Yes. So the mission schools had play groups inside, say, one of the teachers' houses. So mothers who perhaps did baking and selling could bring their children there. So our house was always full of children. And my mother looked after all of us together. And we had wooden slates, and we had chalk. I still have chalk in my house to write dates on the gas cylinder. And my mom would teach us to write, say, oh, you have to go, put your hand there, and then go. We would take your hand, and so everybody knew how to write oh. And then gradually, the next day, we'll do something else. There were lots of helps in the house. We didn't call them servants, because when we were growing up, we were doing the work they were also doing. so that we really didn't look down on them. Up to now, my house helps, I respect them. I don't bully them, I don't shout on them. And so they're very fond of me. Wow. And I am so. And if I'm harsh to them, I bark at them, but I don't bite. And my mom brought us up with song.
With song?
Yes.
Was she a singer herself?
She must be gifted and what do you call it, improviser of song. For example, when you was bathing my little sisters, we'll be singing songs that she didn't hear from them. Mami bibi no hichon. Hichon, that means so beautiful. Hichon, 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 and that is a song. So when they are singing and they're bathing and they're crying, my mom is singing. When it said you should sweep and you are very reluctant, we take the broom from you, I say,
And start singing.
Cake, it's in my language, so I can't. Oh, my be, 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 be. That means clean, 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 clean. Then she will look and clap. Then I will call my father. Oh, didn't your daughter sweep this place? Oh, it's beautiful. They were like that. He jokes a lot.
So they made the chores enjoyable.
It's everything that they did. Wow. But we got spanked too because we weren't ideal children. We did very funny things. We never went out alone. And we would look left and right because that was the main road. And then we crossed walking. We didn't run. And things like that. And then when we started school at 5, and funny, they started schools in January,
Which was
not
your
in
birthday.
October. So I started school exactly when I was 5.
So you went through primary school, you went through secondary school, and we're told that when it was time to go to university, you actually benefited from a scholarship abroad.
Yes.
And it seemed you were even the only one that was picked at the time.
Well, yes, it must have been the Lord who picked me at that time. There wasn't a choice like anything like that. But that thing too is a very, very amazing grace, amazing thing that happened. We finished the 6th form. I was successful. I had my 6th form results. I had 3. But I don't think they were brilliant ones, And I didn't apply to go to the university because I had to know what I was applying to the university for. So, but I had then passed music as one of our A-level subjects.
So you passed music?
I passed music as one of the
and you
subjects.
passed other courses as well?
Yes.
Okay.
And the results came in December or January. By that time, my big brother, he now got, went to Britain to do a pre-university course. And had been there and had now got into the medical school. And the long vac, in Britain from June to October, it's a long vacation.
Yes.
And he went to the School of Oriental and African Studies to do holiday job. Now, the West African languages were tonal. They are all tonal, For example, it's a hola, hola, Amy, Amy, and things like that. And I've made so many mistakes with my intonation when speaking Yoruba, and I've entertained hosts of people just by those mistakes. Anyway, he went there because he knew music. Dr. Berry, who had been visiting West African countries, had been to Lagos and made friends with my father, and knew that my father's son was in England. So during the holidays, went and worked there at the School of Oriental and African Studies. All he was doing, he listened to a tape recorder, playing, say, Psalm 21 in Yoruba. But of course, he didn't know Yoruba, but Psalm 21 in Ga, the language that we spoke. He said, oh, and then has it there, so we put the tones down. The low tone for then middle one, and high one for So, pupo pupo will be high, low, and did that for lots and lots and lots and lots of documents for the languages in Ghana. So when it was time for him to resume at the medical school, yes, he had then gone a whole year and spent the whole long vac. And then the man said, we're sorry to miss you and we cannot wait. We can't wait until the next long vac to have you. We enjoyed music. So he said, I have a sister who just finished A-levels with music as a subject.
Wow.
Has she gone to university yet? Not yet. She's choosing. She's sitting down to choose. So the man, the next flight to the Gold Coast, interviewed my father, and then that's when my father told me this interesting story. That, would you like to go to UK now? I said, if I go to UK, I have to do music. He said, yes, you're going to do music-related something. Well, why don't you start with that? Because my parents could never have sent me there, and the scholarships that were being given at that time were not for music, but for medicine, for sciences, engineering, and the sciences.
Yes.
And so my father said, yes, I'll ask her if she wants to come. Of course. How would I even have a choice? I was going to go and be a research assistant. So that's how I got to the UK, to be a research assistant. And I did that job. They paid me well, as if, at the university, research assistant.
Wow. So you were schooling and you were getting paid because you were working as a research assistant, but you were also schooling at the same time.
I did that as a full-time job.
I see.
From there, I worked for 1 year and a bit, 1 year and a half at the School of Oriental and African Studies as a research assistant. In the evenings, there were courses. So I took evening courses in piano. In piano playing, and because I'd already got grade 7 music whilst I was in Achimota school. It was 7 years. I was there for 7 years, the O levels and then A levels. So this lady took me on the piano. Wow. And she helped me. Within about a year, I was able to get the licentiate, a Royal Associate of the Royal College of Music. It was a diploma. It was a piano teaching course. But before then, when I left School of Oriental and African Studies, I now wanted to read real music. The piano, I'd got that aside. So I applied to Trinity College of Music. And I went there for another 1 year. And then I applied for scholarship from the Gold Coast then. And the man who was the education attaché for the Gold Coast was Mr. Graves, Yokojo, and he was a musician, very well-known musician. So I went there, I had heard of him, I had played his pieces before. I said, oh, you are the one. I said, oh, you must be Konote Ahulu's sister. I was known by that name for years. Nobody knew my name, they knew my brother's name. I said, yes, and it was he who recommended me to Durham University. So I was called for interview and I was accepted to do a music degree, specialist music degree. My first week in Durham, I went to church. It was a Methodist church, which was very near the university. Methodist, Elvet Methodist Church. Now, when I got there, I was the only black person there. I didn't mind. So at the end, and there were lots and lots and lots of new students who had come from all over, who were being prayed for that day. Then at the end, the advertisement was that you should sign a book to say where you are, a register or something, so that in case you need help, they can help. But so after church now, the book was there, and I looked. If you want to be with, you want to go to a university hostel, your name was there. If you wanted to go to digs was, you rented a room in a family, and if you wanted, and I said I wanted to live with a family because my parents won't agree to me having a little house and living in it alone.
And is that what you...
I was a teenager.
Minus what your parents would have wanted, was that what you wanted as well?
Yes. Okay. Yes. Because I wanted somebody to wake me up every morning. Up to today. Yes. Up to today. Because I would read long into the night. So when it came to rising up, I was no good. And I'd had that problem even in secondary school. By the time I woke up, I said, oh, Eddie, are you still sleeping? I said, what? You see them all almost dressed up. You see me running there, to do things. So I needed somebody to look after me. So my parents were very, very, very happy. Do you know the couple? The couple who took me in, there were lots of family. We just put our names on what we wanted, what we would like. So a couple, in what I was learning there, so I put music.
Yeah.
Now, who would invite me to their homes for tea? The organist and the wife.
Wow.
The organist and
of
the wife.
The church, of the Methodist church.
The Methodist church, Elvet Methodist Church. And the wife. So they said, oh, they will meet me on such and such a day, or after church on Sunday to take me home to go. They took me home. And the neighbors, they were very homely. They're not like modern days. I'm talking of 60 years ago. The nicest people that met, who never seen you before, and I'd heard of prejudice. I didn't experience it. So this lady and the husband took me in, and before we got home, they asked me, what do you eat? So I said, oh, what I eat, you won't have it here. I'll eat what you will eat. But I have very big appetite.
Really, Mama?
I had, not now.
You had, okay.
So I told them that. So when I got, they were having high tea. Now, high tea, I wonder what low tea was. And they packed, lots of bread, buttered. The lady, they called Nelly. Call me Nelly. And my husband is Bill. And they were as old as my parents.
Wow.
My parents were in their 50s then. And I thought, so that's Nelly and that's Bill. And they looked, what do you drink tea? I said, oh yes. With milk? He said. Then I told them the joke of an African who was coming to Britain for the first time, and those who serve food on the plane. Okay, but do you want coffee, black or white? So the one said, look, you can see I'm black. I want black coffee. So they brought black coffee. And he said, oh, and where is the milk? I said, well, you said you wanted black coffee. He thought, and they laughed at that. They thought, oh, that was very funny. So we got on very well. They gave me so much food, I couldn't finish it. You see me swallowing. And it wasn't savory, it wasn't tasty, it was leaves. I called it leaves. And tomato, boiled egg, and then British food. And it was more than what I asked. I thought they would give me one slice of bread and a thin bacon or something like that. But no, they gave me real foodie food. And the lady made desserts and so, you like it? Would you like to come again? So I said yes. So then it became almost like a habit. After every Sunday
service,
church, I went home with them. Then one day, when I was leaving, he said, Edna, could you consider it to come and live with us? My mouth, my jaw fell. So I lived with Nellie and Bill for 3 years in Durham.
Wow.
When I got my allowance from the Ghana government and I wrote a check, I didn't know, but they kept it aside. And it went on and went on and went on and went on. And they were making me cardigans, and they were buying things for me. They did everything for me, everything. When I wanted to pay them back, they said, oh, wait. When I was leaving Durham, I was in tears. I really cried. And they cried too. And it was, when I was going to get married, they sent me what they call the bottom drawer. Curtains, table mats, cutlery, in a whole box. So they became my parents.
Yeah.
Until they died.
Yeah.
Nellie died first. I went during the long vac because my husband knew them before we were married. And my father also came to England. when I said I was courting or a Nigerian man was.
Okay, so let's go there now. I wasn't going to go there now, but since you've been mentioning your husband, let's go there now.